I've had good events, I've had okay events. You think one of my events, not a lot of people showed up. You have to think about the bigger picture. And I thought about the bigger picture, like some of the biggest promoters in the world, they've had events flop. Some of the biggest concert promoters in the world, they can have so much success, but a lot of them do have projects that don't do well, but that's that game.
No Bullshit Talks is a podcast for entrepreneurs by entrepreneurs. There's too much bullshit out there, especially when it comes to business. This podcast aims to highlight what's true and what's not in the world of entrepreneurship, bringing you honest and raw conversations about the roller coaster that is entrepreneurship. Each week, my guest will be a high-performing entrepreneur sharing the ups and downs of their journey and helping you prepare for the road ahead, while providing you with actionable insights and absolute gems of knowledge. Stay tuned as I introduce this week's guest. Ajani Griffith is a music supervisor, filmmaker, and founder of Ajani Media, a creative agency helping musicians and entertainment brands tell their stories through film and content. Based in Miami, he works with Grammy Award winners and now also runs the Music Biz Club. I present to you this week's guest, Ajani Griffith. Today's guest is Ajani Griffith, who is a film producer, a music producer, just all-round cool creative guy here in Miami, where I'm filming another podcast episode. And I'm really excited to introduce him because he's going to give us some amazing tips on how to be a content creator as a business owner. Because I think it's really difficult to kind of create content as a business owner instead of just being a full-time creator. And so I am very excited to introduce Ajani, who is here in Miami, sharing his wisdom on life as an entrepreneur and content creator and what it's like to up and leave to a different country and come set up shop across the pond. Welcome to No Bullshit Talks today.
Thank you so much.
Thank you for being here. We are in sunny Miami. I know you can't tell from this backdrop, but we are in sunny Miami, which I am super excited to be here. It's pretty far for me to come to record a podcast, but I have been finding some of the most interesting people to have a conversation with and sit down with. And I came across you and I reached out, and thank you so much for agreeing to be part of this podcast. So I would love for you to tell my audience about who you are and what you do.
Well, I do a lot of things, but I would say that what I specialize in is media production, end-to-end media production, which that's what I do. So primarily, I am a music supervisor and I produce video and a director, and that's my core focus. So I've worked with projects that include Warner Music, Sony, Universal, Heineken, Red Stripe. So I've done a lot of cool projects, and I'm also a speaker. So
yeah, I saw that you've got some really cool stuff along the journey, and I want to rewind a little bit so that people can get a picture of how you got to where you are now. Because I think a lot of my audience are entrepreneurs who are trying to learn from other entrepreneurs, because I think that for me, the content out there is always showing people who are super successful and act like they kind of had this really easy path to success, and it's always been really easy. But I like to delve into people's journey of how they got there, because it's never really a straight line. Usually there's all sorts of different paths taken, and I've always been doing music. I know you obviously did film before, which we'll talk about. Tell me about your path of how you kind of got to where you are now. Like, what did you start out doing, and what did you think you wanted to do when you first started?
Well, I always wanted to be in music, and I still do music. So that's part of the production part of it.
Yeah.
I do film and do music. Just depends on, and obviously I'm a music supervisor. So it just depends on what I'm doing, what the project is. But I started off always wanting to be a music producer, and I started to become or pursue being a songwriter producer. And then I got to a point where I said I want to start my own publishing company. So I went to college or university in Florida International University in Miami, and then I moved to Panama because I was living in Panama before, son of a diplomat. So we move all over around the world. So after college, I went back to Panama for a little bit. I had this idea when I was in college. I wanted to start my music publishing company and build a very big, successful independent music company. So that was my approach. And so I went around and started looking for independent artists, signed a few independent artists. And then I have a friend who's building himself as a director here in South Florida. And I reached out to him. I said, hey, I have some music for you. And then he said, why not you music supervise my film? And that's where I got my start. So I mean, with me, I've been working with him in tandem for many years, probably like say about 10, 12 years now. It's just crazy just thinking about that. But we've gotten to a point where we've contended for 3 Oscars. Just from that experience, I got dabbled into like film production, and I wanted to start a vlog, so I started vlogging, and then I just refined my skills from there.
I have so many questions. I mean, like, that is, I feel like you can have a dream of being a music producer. Not everyone achieves their dream, but you have, plus all these other things. So I guess my first question is, when you started out, you said obviously your friend gave you a gig, which is great, but how did you keep going? Like, because I feel like, yes, you landed one gig, but you have to consistently look for gigs. As like a music producer, you are not like full-time necessarily in one role, are you? You have to often do different projects at different times, or you constantly have to look for a project. Once one's over, you have to go another project. Like, how did you maintain that? Because obviously sometimes it's quite difficult when you're trying to look for work that some isn't coming in all the time. Like, how did you maintain kind of consistently finding work?
I mean, there's definitely ups and downs. Let's say, for example, in Miami, there's high season. So, for example, from December all the way into like beginning of summer, that's pretty much where the bulk of the work happens, and then things just die down. Miami's not the biggest hub for media production. There is media production here, but it's not like LA. There's 100 times more work. Yeah. So you just plan ahead. Plan ahead. You see like the summer's gonna come, or sorry, not the summer. You see that spring is gonna come. There's gonna be a lot of work, and then you plan around that. And one of the things that I've learned is in that process is that networking, and also being in the industry where people know who you are and what you do, and then they'll call upon you. Yeah. And then also, have to take initiative in starting your own projects, or finding your own gigs. So it's a mix of those dynamics. Continue to work.
Yeah, I mean, it's not easy though. Like you said, networking for me is the biggest thing. Like, I actually run my own networking club in London, and that's one of the things I'm setting up, is for founders to kind of all meet each other, and I make introductions, and I love doing that. I love connecting the right people, and I think that that's how you get through life, is like always who you know, right? So networking is super important. But you mentioned that LA is obviously the hub, and that's what I think of when anyone wants to work in film or music. LA is the first kind of place that most people think of. So why didn't you move to LA?
That's a really good question. I don't know how to answer that.
With whatever comes to your mind, like the truth, it's no bullshit talks, right? You just say whatever it is. Like, it doesn't have to be the right answer.
I think that, I mean, I liked Miami. I love LA. I love LA. LA is a different beast. If you're not prepared, it can eat you up. And there was once upon a time, every month, I knew somebody, either maybe an acquaintance or a friend, was moving to LA. That was when I was younger. So I guess maybe that's kind of a trend in terms of like people in their 20s and whatnot. But, or maybe, I don't know. But I think that LA is really, really competitive. And to be a player in the ecosystem, you don't necessarily have to be in LA to make noise, or build a portfolio. So, I mean, I chose to work inside out, but also, I built my own network, so I'm gonna have at least good projects to where I could put on my portfolio, and I think I've done let's say an okay job. Maybe I give myself a B in terms of how I position myself online, because I mean it's opened up a lot of doors for me of being able to speak and travel outside of Miami. I've gotten paid to speak. I wouldn't be here if it wasn't for that.
Yeah.
So I could do a little bit better, but I think I'm doing a pretty good job. So, just that and marketing yourself, I think you have to be able to create your own opportunities. And, from that, just they will come, but you have to work. You can't just sit there and not do anything, not market yourself.
Yeah, I think a lot of people think that you can just sit there and not market yourself, or you do one Instagram post and suddenly people will find you. I think a lot of people do think like that. But yeah, you're right. Obviously, you can still build a brand anywhere. You can build a business anywhere. I was just curious because you said there's like 100 times more work in LA. So has it not crossed your mind that maybe you can, like you said, you've got a network here. Absolutely, you're doing really well here. But could you then set up in LA and network out there? Is it worth going out there and building something? I know that is a cliche from someone who lives in the UK. We don't know exactly what the scene's like here, but we hear everything's in LA when it comes to film, music, media production, and like everything's in Silicon Valley when it comes to tech and that sort of stuff. So if you want to be successful, you go to Silicon Valley. If you've got a new startup, you want to be successful in Hollywood, you go to LA. Like, how realistic is that for you? Like, would you be tempted?
I mean, I would want to work inside out because LA is a different beast. I mean, a lot of the film productions are also happening in Atlanta. I don't know if you're aware of that, but because a lot of LA studios have built sound stages in Georgia just because of the law like that they passed. Well, it's been like 12 years now.
Okay.
So a lot of Hollywood studios are in Atlanta. So to move to LA, I think for me, just personally, there's a lot of things going on. I don't mind. Well, my whole goal was to travel out to different places. Maybe I'll work for 2-3 months or a couple of weeks, depending on what the project is. Still building that out. Still haven't gotten to that point. But to be living in LA full time, it's a huge undertaking. It's a huge undertaking. And also, it's pretty expensive.
Yeah, really expensive. Who would you say it's right for? Like, if you were to advise someone who's in your industry and, they were thinking, because I think a lot of people who are less experienced than you, they would probably think that way, right? Or must move to LA if I want the opportunities. But like you said, it's very expensive. It's a different beast. They're probably going to set themselves up for more failure because actually it's a lot of pressure on them to perform all the time. Who is it right for to move out to LA?
I couldn't even answer that question. I think there's a lot of what ifs. Anything can happen in LA or anywhere, but especially in LA or where the activity is happening. You're sort of playing with fate, and a lot of people go out there and they get stuck. A lot of my colleagues, a lot of my personal friends, they go out there and they're not going beyond what their aspirations are, their final end. So I think you have to be strategic. You have to have a whereabouts of what you're going to do, how you're going to attain it, and you have to understand that there might be consequences for making that move, which is fine. But hey, a lot of our great inventors and creators. If they didn't take the chance, doing whatever they do, a lot of our people that we look up to, if they didn't take the chance or the opportunity to get to where they want to be, we wouldn't know who they are. They wouldn't be able to be who they are. So I don't have necessarily a direct answer for that, but, for those who want to take the risk and who are willing to do that. I mean, the chances are not on their side. But I guess as creators, you have to be mindful, and you have to be, willing to take the risk to get to those opportunities.
Yeah, absolutely. And so, what is your goal? Because you're saying that you have to be mindful to be strategic about what you want to achieve. What is it you want to achieve? What's your big picture?
That's a very good question. For me right now, one thing that I'm working on is a project that I call the Music Biz Club. I will change that just for certain trademark and legal purposes, per the many discussions I've had with a few lawyers. But one thing that this project is, it's based on bringing a community together. So I'm starting in Miami, and building it out. So the main thing is, one, it's an evening party, and two, I'm bringing people together, and then three, I do like a live podcast show. So that's one thing I'm building out, and the next step for that is tap into sponsors and whatnot, and different revenue streams, and then eventually what I want to do, I hope I can achieve this soon, is to do a tour.
Yeah, nice.
So it's not just a podcast. It's an event and a podcast, but where I'm building, and the team that I'm going to build, and the people who are already working with me. The whole goal is to build IP.
Yeah.
Because podcasts are not getting $1 million on Spotify or Netflix or different platforms. And that's going to be, you're going to see a lot more of that as, the media matures, and that's where the audience is going, So there's a lot of touch points within that project that I want to take advantage of and get out there and just build it.
Okay, so how does it work? You said it's an evening party. You get the community together, and you've got live podcasts. You get people together in the same room. You have music. You have like a whole thing about it. You do sit down with someone as a guest, have a live podcast. Is that what it's like? And then for the evening, and your community come together and all meet each other.
Yeah, I have performers.
Nice. Okay. Wow. Okay. So, and you do that how often?
Once a month.
Okay. And so, and is it all for like the music industry? Is that kind of the vibe of it?
Well, I mean, I did kind of start this idea out when I was living in Panama. Then I came back to Miami. Then I did I think a couple of events, and COVID hit. So, I just restarted that project a year ago. So, being consistently putting out, producing events.
Mm-hmm.
And now we're to the point to where, it's a solid idea. There's consistency behind it now. I can start going to brands and do at least small sponsorships, and then just bring the community together.
Yeah.
And it's also a platform to where, I was thinking about this like maybe 2 or 3 weeks ago, where if I can get it to a certain audience or certain type of audience, but a certain size, it can be a platform to where, I say I get an artist, and that artist can maybe, I guess, new potential audience or fans that watch the content, because I'm not just gonna do the podcast. I'm producing a whole event. Mm-hmm. So that's a real helpful content. And then I can take, when the performers perform, they perform 5-6 songs.
Oh, wow.
So that's content in itself.
Yeah. So
I can now take the live performances, put it online, and I can curate in different places, whether it's on, I think it's podcast for Spotify.
Podcasts for Spotify. That's where I am. So that's where this is done. So podcasts for Spotify.
YouTube,
creators,
and the whole the different types of distribution points.
Yeah.
And if I can build, the whole goal is to build an audience, and let's say 50,000 people listening to the podcast. Yeah. That's 50,000 potential people that an artist can listen to.
Yeah.
I mean, can get exposed to.
Yeah, it's great. And then I think like that helps you attract more artists to want to play for you and perform for you guys. It's a model that I believe in too. I think it's like where you all kind of help each other. And I think like you said about networking, right? It's like an ecosystem where everyone can benefit from it. I run events in London, the same sort of thing. And what I'm building with my networking community is that exact it. It's all in-person events and bringing people in the same room. And I'm a big advocate for it. And I think that I don't know how it is over here. I'd love to talk to you about it because in the UK, I think that so many people are doing virtual events. Like it's easy, it's low cost, it's kind of like low barrier to entry. Especially in London, the venue spaces are really expensive. So you're looking at £1,000, like $1,500 minimum spend for any event. And so there's obviously a cost involved, and so not everyone wants to do it. And so that's why people use virtual stuff. But for me, I'm a massive advocate for bringing people in person. Like it's just not the same. You have that real connection, you bring people in the same room. Like the interactions that naturally happen when you're grabbing a drink, you're listening to music, especially at your events where you're connecting to music and everything's a very different thing. You can't do that online. But events are difficult. Like you produce events all the time. There's a lot of moving parts. There's a lot of expenses. Getting people to leave their house to actually physically come somewhere is not always easy. How is the event scene in Miami and the US in general, do you think? I guess COVID was an interesting thing, right? So for me, there's a difference between pre-COVID, post-COVID events. For example, in the UK, I think pre-COVID events were rammed all the time. It was great. Then COVID happened, no one wanted to leave the house. And even till like 2023, people still didn't want to leave the house. It got a bit better, but even now it's touch and go. Some people are like desperate for that human interaction, but some people are still like, I really can't be bothered to leave my house. So what is the scene like over here? How does it compare?
Well, I mean, the U.S. is a big country, so
it is, and every state's almost like a little country itself, right, compared to England.
So I mean, everywhere's going to be different. Miami, I wouldn't say I'm an event expert. I'm not. I don't work hospitality, but I'm kind of like now I'm doing events. I'm a little bit kind of doing hospitality. So, but I'm not an expert. So, but I would say I know it's taking a big hit. I guess just the general health of the economy. But I mean, generally in Miami, there's a lot going on. So there's a lot of competition, especially now around this time. You got the film festival. You know, I'm doing my events every once a month, and every week until now as the World Cup is going to come. There's going to be a lot of competition. There's going to be a lot of people going different places. There's going to be a lot of people who have plans, and at this point, it's for me. It's just you just got to do it. You just got to show up. You know, whoever shows up. Who doesn't? The thing about it is the consistency is what really matters, because you're building brand equity. People will see what you're doing, and as time goes along, that compounds. So it's I've had conversations with the venue that I partner with, and I've had conversations behind the scenes. But generally, I think the health of the economy is just, taking its toll. Like you got I'm not going to go into politics, but everything that goes on with politics is trickling down.
Yeah. I think, but what you said is really great entrepreneurial attitude, is that, you're building brand equity. You have to be consistent. You have to consistently show up. And if you're there all the time with your brand and people know that monthly you're going to be doing this event, then people will eventually come to them and they'll build up. And obviously once they attend, they're like, this is amazing. They pass it on and it should work. But the problem is people get demoralized. Like, they throw an event, 10 people turn up and they're like, well, that was a failure in their eyes, right? But it's all about a reframe for me. It's like 10 people paid money or spent time to come to your event. That's a win. Like if those 10 people just ask one person each time to come, you've got 20 people next time, and you've got 40 people next time. It grows exponentially. But it's hard when you are putting hard-earned cash up, as a stake for the event every time, and you're putting all this effort. You've got performers come, and they have to perform to an empty crowd. Like it is a bit of a knock. So how do you stay confident and, keep that determination to keep going when it maybe doesn't look successful? Because I think a lot of people give up, and that's when they don't see the success. It's like you said, consistency with everything. You've got to keep going, and then people stop, and then that's when you're actually better to see the success. But how do you keep going through things like that?
I'm a warrior.
It's as simple as that. You're like, I'm a warrior.
I've had good events. I've had okay events. I think one of my events, not a lot of people showed up. But at the end of the day, you have to keep showing up. Because one day, one night that doesn't work doesn't necessarily mean that's the whole picture. So you have to think about the bigger picture. And I thought about the bigger picture. Like some of the biggest promoters in the world, they've had events flop. Some of the biggest concert promoters in the world, they can have so much success, but a lot of them do have projects that don't do well. I've had conversations with people, concert promoters who've been doing it for years, and I remember one time I was talking to two of them, like they were in a partnership in a group, and they did a project, and I forgot who they brought. It was some big star, and they lost money. You're talking about almost $1 million in the hole. But that's that game. So let's say for them in that instance, if they just said, okay, we're not going to continue this, then they wouldn't be producing more successful concerts and projects. And that's the same thing here. The bigger picture is I have something that is a proof of concept. I've had certain people who show up all the time. I've had people who've at least showed up in the last year and a half, showed up to 4 or 5 of my events. So that's almost about 50% of my events. People show up. Sometimes I get other feedbacks. I guess people not, there's some people who are not going to be in my demographic, and there'll be others who won't be in my demographic. In that, you just have to continue to build and continue to work on those details, and continue to learn from each event, continue to figure out or find out your demographic and market better to them, find more of those people who will come up and show up, who want to spend $25 or, So that's my mindset. So, you can't just be demoralized because something happens. Like this, my upcoming event, I have a problem with my audio guy. He has a conflict with what he has going on. So, I have to make some adjustments. I don't know what I'm going to do. That's something I'm going to do after I get off speaking to you with this podcast. But, there's it's moving parts in different variables. But at the end of the day, my perspective is you just have to keep rolling.
Yeah, that's great attitude though. Like, I don't think everyone can do that, and I think that's the difference of those who actually last versus the ones who kind of keep moving on to the next project all the time. And I think even you said earlier that you have a vlog as well. Is that right? You started vlogging. Did you say that?
Yeah, I started vlogging 10 years ago.
Right. So I want to talk about that as well, because I feel like vlogging's an interesting one. I can't vlog to save my life. I just find it so awkward, like documenting my life. Like, you're a music producer, film producer. I feel like when you produce something, you can visualize the end goal and you kind of know what you're doing. I just feel like, why would anyone want to watch this? So I'm not a great vlogger. But I admire anyone who's ever vlogged. And, I watch vlogs, and some people I see, obviously you've got people who've done amazingly well and have made a whole name for themselves from vlogging. Other people have tried and flopped again. So you've been doing it for 10 years. Like, that's massive longevity again. First of all, what made you start? Like, why did you feel like you needed to vlog? And again, how did you know what to do to keep going for 10 years?
My consistency is on and off with that, because it's a lot. Especially, I found myself editing with other people's projects, and I got to edit a vlog. It's very consuming. But to answer your question, Gary Vee was actually the one who kind of like inspired me to do vlogging. Also, like Stephen Bartlett afterward, because when he started getting his brand out and marketing himself, you know, he did a vlog, but it was mostly Gary Vee. So, he's always about, getting your name out, getting vlogging, pick up the camera, and that's what really got me started vlogging. I mean, I haven't really been successful with it. I mean, maybe the consistency and, YouTube is a different beast, but I think with the moves I'm going to be making, especially with this project, I think once I get back into it consistently, I'll be able to do it consistently and definitely be able to do something with it. So that's how I got into vlogging.
What's your plan with it then? You said you want to do something consistently. What would be your plan for your vlog?
One, it's all about continuing getting my name out, my brand out. Obviously, like I said, I've done a pretty good job with that. I mean, we're here because of that.
Yeah, exactly.
and also looking at how the algorithm changes now AI. So that's the start.
And document what? Like I said, I hate vlogging. And, I'm probably, and to a lot of people consider I'm good at content. Loads of people say that to me. They go, you're great at content. Like, I love your content. I think I'm terrible at content. So obviously people have different things. And obviously compared to someone like you, I would be terrible at content. What are we documenting? Like, again, I see a lot of people these days now. I've seen a lot of posts, for example, on Instagram go, I'm stuck at X amount of followers. What am I doing wrong? And I see a lot of the comments and they're like, oh, you're talking about yourself a lot. And, people document things. But why would other people be interested in that documentation? Like, as a business owner, what should I be documenting?
What you're doing in a moment.
Okay. And
you can, at the very least, to start off, you just put a podcast in, not podcast, put a tripod or start recording what you're doing, what is meetings, meeting people, and you move on from there. And then, there's AI now, so, AI you have AI tools like Opus Clips where you can just, it'll chop up your video into, give you, 30, 40 different types of clips. And that's how you get out. That's a start.
Yeah. We use Opus for the podcast. It's great. I totally vouch for it. I would just say that, for example, my day-to-day, a lot of it is meeting people because I'm building relationships. My business, like I said, I'm Entrepreneur Members Club, is all about connections, real, genuine connections. So I'm just sitting there having a coffee with people. Do I just get out my phone and be like, hey guys, when I'm having a coffee? It feels unnatural. Where do I draw the line between that natural connection versus, ruining the moment by sticking a camera in someone's face?
Well, at the end of the day, it's not up to you, it's up to your audience.
It's a good point. I guess that is a good point that I'm totally forgetting. I guess I need to get over the whole, it is about me and what I'm doing.
You see what content works, what doesn't, what resonates with your audience, and then you double down on that.
Okay, and so how have you found with trial and error, what has worked for you and your brand?
I would say, obviously the algorithms change. LinkedIn has been my biggest platform. At one point, I was just posting what I thought sounded good or was good. I thought it was good advice, and that, that created traction. Now that LinkedIn's a completely different beast from 3 years ago. So, the curation has to obviously you have to adjust and change. LinkedIn hasn't worked for me.
But you said it's changed in 3 years, which I want to know about. Because I said to you earlier, I did that LinkedIn Creator Accelerator, which was a few years ago, and I think that 3 years ago, it was a very different thing. Like, and there's a lot of talk now about how LinkedIn has changed. How do you think it has changed then? You said it's a very different beast from 3 years ago. Explain that.
I think you're reaching less people.
But are you reaching more of the right people?
I would say, I was reaching a lot of the right people on LinkedIn. I think the LinkedIn is shifting more toward advertising. It's becoming more mature. But I'm still reaching the right people. Not the volume, I guess, in terms of the copy that I have to write. You have to really think about it a little bit more.
Okay, so now it's more nuanced and you're kind of having to target people a little bit more specifically as opposed to generically.
Yeah.
Okay. And then would you say that it's still worth spending time there though? Because obviously like if you're reaching fewer people, but you said you're still reaching the right people, so it's still worth it, right?
Of course.
Okay. And because you've mentioned in this, like YouTube and LinkedIn, and obviously different type of things. What would you say are the main platforms that you think is still worth kind of working?
I mean, YouTube is connected to Google and Google Gemini.
Yeah.
That's going to be a massive. I mean, it's a massive ecosystem that everybody should be tapped in. I don't necessarily think people should get too wrapped up into followers.
Yeah, okay.
Because you can still create a good, whatever your objectives are, but you can still create a good following. You can still create memberships. You can still do a whole lot just by it delivering to the right people. And, this isn't 2015. This is 2026. So, again, the algorithms are interest media. So, you could have a really, really good day and it just delivers to the right people. But, the volume does matter, I think.
Okay, amazing. I feel like you've given so much good advice to loads of people who are trying to create content. What would you say, because this is No Bullshit Talks podcast, what would you say though in your industry or in like content creation or however you want to, because I feel like you're also a content creator, what would you say is the biggest bit of bullshit out there though that people should ignore?
I mean, there's a lot. I mean, from the outside or inside?
Both. Like, whatever you feel like, I wish people knew that this was bullshit. And, like, it really irritates me. And I wish I could tell the world that this is just bullshit and people should ignore it.
I would say in production, we create amazing and beautiful projects. But behind the scenes, there's a lot of nonsense that's going on.
Like what?
I would say there's a lot of people there's a lot of predatory things going on in terms of, people won't pay on time, people trying to, shift people, the crew. There's a lot of politics behind the scenes that a lot of people don't get to see. Unless you are working within it, you don't get to see it. Some of your biggest celebrities, I've worked been around a lot of celebrities. There are some really cool ones and there's some really terrible ones. I would say just because you might look up to somebody doesn't mean behind the scenes that they're good to work with. So, I mean, there's a lot of, nuances that a lot of people don't know about. And if you get into those rooms or you you're building your career, you just have to be mindful of that. And also, I think if you're getting these roles, not everybody wants to, but I think that you should be able to look into owning your own productions also and having your own clients because you have control and you get to set your own parameters and how you want to treat people, One thing that's very prevalent in production is a lot of these production companies, they'll pay you net 30.
Oh, okay.
And net 45.
Yeah.
So, and a lot of times a lot of people don't get paid on time. And also this is it's an industry where you can earn a lot of money in one day. Obviously there's a lot of equipment, there's a lot of expertise, especially if this is what you do. it's easy to run into a project where people don't pay on time, and then all of a sudden you're 20,000 6 months past due.
Yeah.
So you have to really make sure you find the projects where you get to you have a contract. They'll pay. Make sure they pay on time. Make sure you get a deposit. Make sure you do all those things just to protect yourself.
Yeah. I feel like it's similar even in our industry. Like there's a lot of things in loads of different industries at the moment. People just don't pay on time. They don't pay at all. They kind of do what they can to try and get out of paying invoices. Have there been anything that you've learned along the way? Because I think a lot of people are going through this at the moment where clients just aren't paying, and the UK has got a very silly legal system where actually it's not even worth going for sometimes. Are there any like red flags that people need to look out for, or little tips that you've done to be able to protect yourself, to make sure that you don't run into those situations?
If everybody's talking about this one production company or this one producer and they're not paying on time, if a bunch of people are complaining, that's a red flag. If you have run around with people, that's a red flag. I mean, I would say the start is to start with a contract, and then you see who's for real, who's not for real, but also getting a deposit.
Yeah, I think protect yourself. There's so many different things. It's hard out there. That's a problem. And if someone wants to be naughty and not pay you, they probably can get away with it. That's the problem. But you have to just kind of learn the signs of, and I guess it's doing your research. Like I said, if lots of people are saying stuff, then avoid them. But so maybe actually finding some references and finding other people who worked with them and doing some due diligence. I think it's just hard though when you're an entrepreneur and you want to take on work. You're like, oh, this is great, let's work with this person. But actually getting some references of what they like to work with may be a good way to kind of protect yourself.
Yeah, but I mean, main thing is don't leave your house without a deposit.
Yeah.
And a contract site.
Yeah. Well, thank you so much. You've been amazing today. And where can people find you? What's the best way people can get in touch if they want to know more? Or they want to come to one of your music things every month?
Just follow me on social media, Instagram or LinkedIn mostly.
Okay, perfect. I'll put those in the show notes and people can get in touch with you. But thank you so much for being my guest today. It's been a pleasure.
Thank you for having me.
Thank you.